Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Fixed by Frank. Now in today's video, we're going to be refurbishing this iPhone 7 32GB back into brand new condition. Now this phone is in pretty bad condition. It has a terribly cracked screen. It's got a ton of damage around the body and it's also missing a SIM tray for some reason. So I'm not too sure why it's missing that SIM tray, but obviously we can replace this. But in today's video, we're going to be basically turning this back into brand new condition. Now, it also has a pretty terrible battery health, so it's definitely in due need of a new battery. So today we're going to be making this back into something that people can use, because what normally happens with a phone like this, it ends up in landfill after they've finished using it and then it never gets used again. So today we're going to be making this into something that someone can use again. And the way we're going to be doing this is we're going to be taking the parts from this phone. So I was having a look at some of the lock stuff we have here at Frank and I found this guy, and this is an iPhone 7 Plus, I think 128GB, but it's locked. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to use all the parts from this phone to basically Frankenstein this phone and make it into brand new condition. Now, this phone has a battery health of 98%, which is absolutely insane. This means that this phone's barely being used and it's gonna be really, really good for parts. It also has hardly any dings or scratches around the body of the phone, which makes it extra good because it obviously makes it a little bit more appetizing for the final user. So we're gonna try and recycle all the parts from this phone into this phone and vice versa, and end up with a brand new phone that someone can use. So make sure you stay around to the end of the video to watch the whole entire process. And without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we can start off this repair by opening the phone, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to take out the bottom two pentalobe screws and then pry on the edges of the screen to release the screen and then open it up like a book. So you got to be very careful here because the flex cables for the screen are located on the right hand side of the body of the phone, so ripping these could cause shortages in the phone, problems that we don't want to deal with later on. And then we can open up the phone and have a look on the inside. And on the inside, it is clear that this phone has never been opened before, which is brilliant because it means that no one else has tampered with any parts of the phone. So we can begin taking the screen off. So we'll take off the brackets covering up the major flex cables in the phone. So these include the LCD and the screen flex cables, obviously, and the battery flex cable, which is very important to remove first, and then also the front camera ribbon cable. So before attempting to remove the screen, we have to disconnect all of these flex cables so that the screen can become loose from the body of the phone, and then we can take the screen basically off the phone and we're left with our body, which we're going to operate on now. So the way we're going to do this repair is going to be very similar to the way we've done previous repairs on this channel, which if you guys are interested, there's going to be a playlist listed down below in the description with a bunch of different videos for you guys to watch. But the way this repair is going to work is we're going to take the motherboard out of each of the housings and then basically swap them over with their respective screens and home buttons, and then basically we'll be left with the identical phones just with different operating systems inside, and then we'll have basically a brand new unlocked phone. So in order to remove the motherboard from the housing of the phone, we have to go through and release a bunch of different screws and little brackets and components of the phone which are actually attaching the motherboard to the housing of the phone. So these include things like the camera and the cellular antenna, which is in the top left hand corner of the phone, and a bunch of random different screws and flex cables around the device. So once all of these components have been removed and unclipped, we can carefully pry out the motherboard to release it from the housing. And then after we've removed the motherboard from the unlocked phone, we can remove the motherboard from the locked phone so that we can swap them over and put them back into their respective housings. So you can see right here, I'm about to swap them over to make sure that we don't forget to do this later on, because otherwise we're going to basically repair the whole phone and just end up with the exact same thing at the end. So probably one of the most important steps in the whole repair is to do that. And then after we've removed the motherboards from the housings and swapped them over, we can begin to install them back into their respective housings, which you can see me doing right here. So we've just got to go back through and do the exact opposite of what we just did and put all of those little brackets and components of the device back into place. Now this is another important part of the repair, because if we get any of the order wrong, we can actually end up repairing the whole entire phone but not having parts work because they're not installed in the right areas. So we've got to be really careful here and conscious to make sure that all the parts are back into the right place. So you can see right here, I'm putting the camera back into place and making sure to clip everything in and put the brackets on and all that kind of stuff just to make sure it works at the end. And after we finished reassembling the bodies of each of the phones, we can begin working on the screen. So what you can see me doing here is I'm swapping the home buttons of each of the motherboards over onto their respective screens, because the way these home buttons work is they're not like the old home buttons in the past where they can work on any phones. The home button that's originally created with the motherboard is the only home button that can work with that motherboard. So this is very, very annoying, and we just got to be very careful here to make sure that we swap them over so that they actually work on each of the devices. And we've also got to be really careful here to make sure we don't damage any of the ribbon cables or anything like that, because otherwise we can risk not having a home button on our device and it'll be rendered as basically damaged product. And after we've finished installing the home buttons into the screens, I always like to install the screen back onto the housing of the phone just to give it a quick test and make sure everything's working and the touchscreen's working, the home button's working, everything like that before I put the waterproof seal on and start to seal up the phone without actually knowing whether the phone's working or not. And after we've given our phone a quick test and made sure it's all working properly and everything like that, we can go ahead and start to install something that's very, very important, I believe, and something I'm very passionate about doing when I do any kind of repair. And this is installing the waterproof seals and all the little things that actually make a difference to the health of the phone long term rather than just fixing it to work tomorrow. I want the phone to work for as long as possible so that the end consumer actually gets the best experience. So a lot of people here don't actually do this because you can't directly see this, and it's just, in my opinion, very lazy. So a lot of other repairers don't do this, but here at Frank, we always make sure to do it properly. And what we're doing here is just installing the waterproof seal. And after the seal's been installed, we can go ahead and plug all the cable connectors back onto the housing of the phone and attach the screen and basically put all the brackets and everything back into place and close up the phone and seal it up. So we'll go ahead and we'll close up the phone and we'll make sure all the adhesives are in the right spot and basically attach them back onto the screen of the phone to make sure it's all sealed properly. And then we can put the bottom 2 pentalobe screws back into place and we can give the phone a quick turn on and test it to make sure it's all working perfectly. Then after this, we can do the exact same thing we just did on our unlocked phone to our locked phone to basically keep all the parts organized to make sure that we can use this for parts in the future. This is very, very important as well because we want to recycle all the parts of each phone here at Frank. And here it is, the iPhone 7 Plus 32GB back into brand new condition. Now, this phone, I mean, if you look at what we started with, being honest, it was a nightmare. It looked absolutely terrible. Yes, it was still able to be used, but it needed a real good fix up. And basically today, we used all original Apple parts, which is absolutely amazing. We recycled a locked phone and turned it into something now that someone can use. So this phone looks absolutely phenomenal. It's got that beautiful battery health of 98%. And if you guys want to check out our website down below, it's frankmobile.com.au for premium refurbed iPhones, just like this one. And on our website, this would be classified as great condition. Now, the reasons for this is there's some very, very minor superficial wear and tear around the screen of the phone, but besides from that, it doesn't really affect the functions of the phone at all, and I can barely pick it up with my own 2 eyes. So that's why it's not mint condition, but it's in great condition. So this phone now, I'm happy to say, will not be put into landfill. It'll be used by another user in the market, and overall, I'm just really, really impressed with how this turned out. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. We really do appreciate it, and we'll see you guys in the next one.